Dane, we didn't talk much this last week. How are you doing, buddy?
You know, I like to get on Rocket League and score a couple goals with you during the week, but I just wasn't able to get to it this last week. It's been a busy week, man.
I've been in there whiffing balls like I was a fucking 7th grade Catholic school student.
I
feel like I pulled that one out. 7th grade Catholic school student.
As long as you missing the balls doesn't or performs the opposite function of what you usually do, which is let the ball slowly trickle right in front of our goal for them to
now
come
you're
and hit
hating
in
on
with
my
2
game.
seconds left.
Now you're hating my game.
If you miss the ball and that doesn't happen, I'm very happy about it.
Interesting.
I had a good last week. How was yours?
I'm not telling you anymore because you hurt my feelings. Because I'm trying to predict their movements, and then they don't do the movements that I'm predicting. And now I look like an asshole because I whiffed the ball again. And then everybody screams at me. I was just trying to do my best.
He was indeed trying to do his best. So we'll tell you who is not doing their best. In the Culture Corner on episode 108.
So all the people you don't want to not be doing their best is not doing their best.
The UN, not exactly doing their best, but they want you to know that they are definitely doing their best. They're doing better than these other people.
We're doing okay.
They're doing better than these other group of people who you're not supposed to even acknowledge, basically. But UN
Baltimore?
doing their best. And Epstein didn't kill himself. We have the CDC. Well, I guess they're doing their best now, but they're admitting that for over 2.5 years, they weren't exactly doing their
coasting.
best.
We were coasting for the last 2 years. But now...
Because 2 goofball podcasters from Nowheresville, Florida, basically were saying this for 2.5 years.
Knoxville, Florida.
Not that we are smarter than everybody at the CDC, but...
I wish that we were confident in saying that.
From saying what I'm going to say.
I wish we were confident in saying that, but right now it feels like we're at least we graduated from the same high school class.
Here, how about this? What they should have done is they should have went to the TikTok overlords and said, "Can we get that first WMD podcast account that they had that we nuked?
Save it."
They might have been saying some stuff that we nuked.
Save it for the sode. Save it for the sode.
Sorry. I get excited. And then in the main episode, or in the main part of the episode, we are talking the $80 billion allocated in the Inflation Reduction Act.
Is that more or less than $1 million?
Quite a bit more.
Interesting.
So like whole bunches of millions more.
Wow. Impressive.
Going to the IRS to, have 87,000 heavily armed IRS agents coming to knock on the door of like 5 billionaires in America.
Imagine a meter maid showing up with a fucking AK-47 at your door. You didn't pay your motherfucking water bill.
Now, that is strange in light of, again, past performance predicting future outcomes. Perk up. Pay attention.
There's going to be plenty of talking points in that particular portion of the episode.
So, with that being said, David, you want to jump in?
Please.
Welcome to Weapons of Meme Destruction Podcast, episode 108, which can be found at wmdpodcast.com/108. It can be found on all podcast catchers, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, you name it. Can also be found in video form on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey. And then you can link up with us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Like, support, share the show, comment anywhere you find us. And more importantly, go to that description if you want to support. If you like the work we do here and you would like to support us with Bitcoin or cash, you can find your options down in the description underneath the videos.
Dane, can I start this episode with a little honesty?
Yes.
I'm a little concerned that they're not going to be able to read my t-shirt. It's Mario with the princess. And it says,
Mario is a hero for little guys everywhere, and go Mario.
bless you.
Yeah.
We here at the WMD podcast view ourselves as little guys.
Yeah.
That all we want to do is score
Just-
the princess one time.
We're just punching our way up. We're
Yeah.
punching our way up to Bowser.
It's me. I'll jump out of turtle shell as many times as you want. All right.
So,
Anyway, I'll use many mushrooms to get a lot bigger if you need me to.
so one particular Bowser
Nice segue.
that David and I are going after in today's episode, which is in the Culture Corner segment. And today we have a very small group of elite people who, at least if they don't actually run the world, they have designs to run the world and would love nothing more than to be able to do that. Telling the world, there's definitely not that group of people that are in existence anywhere.
Isn't it always funny that it's always a small group of really powerful people telling a large group of not powerful people how they should be living? Shouldn't they get constituents from the not powerful people to say, how are you guys living? Like, not well. Like, well, maybe we should make that better. Yes, please. Like, I don't know how else to phrase it other than that. Like, hey, maybe get one of us in there with you to let you know, hey, taxes are really high. That house, I'm not a millionaire. So can we figure this shit out? Also, meat, I would like to be able to eat that pretty readily. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Oh, sorry for taking all this time. This 5 seconds.
Can you not intervene in my life all the way down
Could
to
you
what I
not tell me
eat?
I'm fucking things up while you're fucking things up more than I'm fucking things up? Can you not tell me cow farts are literally leading to our destruction while you get on your private plane and fly from village to Dell, emitting more CO2 than the rest of us could even possibly emit?
Or forget your private plane, you're voting and vigorously supporting democratically the American war machine, which, I don't know how many fossil fuels the American military burns on a day in training and active combat all over the world.
You know what, Dane?
I know we give them a shit ton of money every year to operate.
Shit ton. I see what he's doing there.
So to David's point about being lectured by people controlling the world and fucking it up, I would say that a very small group of elite and politically interested people are doing that.
Start holding your farts. I don't care if it feels like you're going to explode. Hold your farts until you get into a very controlled situation.
That's right. # follow the science. Everybody do your part.
We all follow it.
Don't fart saves lives.
But you might spontaneously combust.
The slogans write themselves.
Right. It's the Incubus spontaneous combustion song.
So back on topic before we're here until next Tuesday. Is the UN is launching an initiative called #ThinkBeforeSharing. And they want you to know that events are not, quote, secretly manipulated behind the scenes by powerful forces with negative intent. That is not what's going on, citizen of the world or individual country.
Sounds a little bit like self-censorship. A little bit like that. Anyway, please continue.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't ask that question. And then, here's your action item according to the UN. Here's what you need to do. If you see it online, automatically link that person to a fact-checking site, which in some cases have totally not been shown to have been bought out or being written by highly politically biased researchers that happen to work at whatever fact-checking site they work at, but on the side are publishing super leftist progressive political
Dane, what was that famous saying?
Those are your fact checkers. So make sure you link to them when somebody says anything that we don't approve of.
I believe it at least rhymes with snitches get stitches. There's a whole dichotomy of an underground layer of culture that says if you rat somebody else out, you're no better than the people that they're selling you out to. And eventually, again, I'm so sick of this. I'm sick of it, Dane. The door swinging back twice as hard.
I know.
How often do we have to say that?
Listen, some things just have to be learned in the school of hard knocks. There is no amount of history you can show them. There was no amount of wisdom and foresight in saying, this is a potential outcome of the course of action that you're taking. There's no, that's not going on. Some people just have to experience it.
Cool. So you go experience it by yourself and leave us, people that are actually making this thing move forward, alone. That's all I'm going to say.
So if you see it online, link to fact-checking sites, which are totally unbiased and paragons of truth. And then if you see it in public, whatever you do, do not argue with them, because arguing with them gives them credence, and it might make them argue a little harder, which is also AKA just trying to get you to see their perspective, as you're trying to do with them if you have an open dialogue. But definitely don't talk to them, because then that validates their feelings and they think that you're part of the conspiracy. So don't let them try to defend their side to you, right? Because if God forbid you heard their side and might think, I didn't think about it that way. Maybe that person has a point. I don't necessarily agree with them, but I understand their perspective. We can't let you have that reaction to too many people.
That's how better thoughts evolve. How can we have dialogue? Because it'll just totally corrupt what we're trying to do here. God damn it, Dane. Don't you understand? You just have to comply. And that's how we get to utopia. And by the way, don't think about the fact that if the government can find that information, so too can everybody else within the constabulary of the interwebs. So just bear that in mind. If they can find it, so too can other people that are smarter than them find it. So please snitch away at your own behest.
But now, if there's one thing this definitely not international group of elites that either actually do or at least intend to control the world in their few hands, that group that definitely doesn't exist, wants you to know that they're not going to overplay their hand like COVID and say we have 100% effectiveness right out of the gates. They're going to say, listen, real conspiracies do exist. The thing these people are complaining about aren't completely irrational. They're just a little confused about the facts. And real conspiracies, you know how you can spot those? Definitely don't think for yourself. If that's what you said, you go home with $0. We're sorry, you are not a millionaire.
Dane.
What they really want you to know is a real conspiracy exists when the mainstream media tells you it is one.
Can I confess something?
They've collected all the facts and they're responsible and they are paragons of truth in every respect of the word.
I have a confession.
Yes.
I used to think that the earth was definitely round. Definitely. There's pictures, goddammit. They've been up there. They would let us know if it wasn't. But because of all the shit that you just said, that they have the paragons of truth and that they know best and that nothing that they say is ever wrong, all of a sudden, I'm starting to go flat earth. All of a sudden, I'm starting to say, oh, so those paragons of truth that tell me that we're not in a recession. I'm going to keep harping on this until we figure it out. Till we're not in a recession, until inflation doesn't exist anymore. All those people that just say that the reality that you're living in is not the reality that you see. It's what you just pretend to see, and we see the real reality.
Yeah.
So until the said point, I'm slowly mutating into a flat earther because of them their science or lack thereof. Because their science, whatever their science is, I've never heard of that science before, and I won't adhere to it until I see the science that I recognize.
But see, here's the thing, David. And the reason why, if somebody that is on board with hashtag think before sharing, if they're trying to stop conspiracy theories in their tracks.
Please.
Because we are definitely not the institution that would exactly try to put in motion the organization of spy on spy, citizen on citizen.
White on black.
The worst version of a police state, according to, I think it was Solzhenitsyn who talked about that's the way the Russian society was under communism. So if you are turning on each other and you're not looking at that very small group of elite people that if they don't have actual power, definitely aim to get it, are definitely not conspiring to get that power. It's the ones who say that they might be. Those are the dangerous conspiracy theorists, because that's exactly what the mainstream media tells you to believe. And that's why we include them on all of our lists. But we're flat earthers
now. So what do we know?
Exactly. Feel free to dismiss. We're your average everyday court jesters. Don't listen to us. We have nothing of value to say. Just jokes.
Just thoughts.
And meme
careless thoughts.
Now, David.
Yes, sir.
Episode?
Or Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one?
That's the one.
Hail Satan.
You know, I had the brain file was working. I picked the wrong card.
And then...
Yeah, I picked the wrong card. I'll get the right one next time.
Got it.
Anyway, on today's segment of Epstein didn't kill himself, we have new... And listen, YouTube, if you even think about pulling this video for the C word...
Are we doing 2 fingers? 2 fingers. 1 hand, 2 fingers. 1 hand, 2 fingers. There you go.
If you think, about pulling us for this episode, I want you to know that we are reading explicit CDC guidelines from the NPR. Okay? This ain't Fox News. Okay? This isn't Breitbart. This isn't Daily Wire or any of the other evil publications you're not supposed to read.
This is in your mom's house.
NPR.
All right?
Okay? Okay? This is what the CDC tells us to do. We are following CDC guidelines.
Don't be stingy, Terrence.
Other conclusions of viewers and listeners, results may vary. So, the NPR, it's not really a meme. It's just a breakdown of the...
Where the body's hidden, Garth.
Of the situation. New COVID-19 guidance from CDC. Get this. Focuses on individual decisions.
Let it hang. Have a drink. Enjoy yourself.
I'm low on water.
A sip. Then a sip it.
If you would like to have your company branded on this glass, reach out to us at our email.
Put your index finger over that top part, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
so yeah, if you want to get your logo on there, we got you covered. David, I can switch between the cameras. I can be off camera.
Good.
If I turn something, I know to,
Sounds
even
great.
if I'm talking.
Maybe you should.
So now when that looks awkward on film, now you know why. Anyway.
If I get a questionable package delivered to me within the next few weeks, I'm going to know who it's from.
If you get one of any number of 87,000 IRS agents heavily armed and at your door asking questions.
With a couple of AKs. Where's your fucking fiscal income?
About that $600 COVID check you tried to steal. Remember that? I have a feeling that story will be making another reappearance later in the episode. Anyway, damn it, David, we get way off 2 tracks.
So sorry.
The reason why Epstein didn't kill himself this week, I know.
This is the first week that he hasn't killed himself. Fuck me. Well, God damn it, you can change that.
Of all of the weeks prior, he may or may not have, but this week
he definitely didn't.
Is because I know the purpose of this segment is to usually tell you about government or special interest malfeasance in the past that could be suggestive of such actions in the future. But today we want to use it to remind you of something your humble co-host here had to say not a couple years ago, early in around March or April of 2020.
Well, we were just fledgling podcasters.
I think that I think we started at the end of 2020. Yeah, we started at the end because the apocalypse was like early on. We started right before the election.
20 episodes.
September of 2020. And from our very first day, other than telling a couple joke episodes and getting our feet underneath of us.
Getting our family. It was basically a family Zoom call.
We've had a theme about this topic underlying our discussions about it, that individual decisions are not only important,
necessary
to come to real practical solutions about things like this, as uncomfortable as those conclusions may be. But also, even if it didn't have that, this is kind of a fundamental civil right that we think that representative democracies of, by, and for the people should uphold in all instances, no questions asked, because we're the land of the free. Yeah, those notions of the country that we live in were questioned from the beginning. But again, an underlying principle of David and I that guided us all throughout those last 2.5 years were, yeah, individual decisions are important. And that's a right to be respected, regardless of how scary the headlines are. CDC agrees. And
Interesting.
On August 11th of 2022.
Interesting. Now they're coming around to our ideology.
Now, that's just the title. I'm just going to run through the 4 points real quick. Point 1, quote, those exposed to the virus are no longer required to quarantine. Strange. Okay. Point 2, unvaccinated people now have the same guidance as vaccinated people.
Thank you so much.
Point number 3, students can stay in class after being exposed to the virus.
Holy fuck.
That doesn't have anything to do with this not being seriously harmful to kids, does it? I mean, students tend to be a little bit younger on the age spectrum. Anyway, I digress.
Does this not feel like they're like pulling back a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Point 4, before we talk about the thing in its totality, is quote, it's no longer recommended to screen those without symptoms. I remember when a certain orange man was like, you know what? I think we're testing too much. And I think if we test a lot, we're going to find whatever we intend to be looking for, which is a lot of positive tests.
Speaking of
he
which,
didn't say it that eloquently.
Wasn't there a TikTok?
But that was the takeaway.
That was almost totally devoted to proving that orange juice could test positive for COVID.
Yeah.
That a potato could test positive for COVID. Like, it just...
I forget all the objects, but it was a lot.
There was a lot of different things that could never absorb a virus into itself and replicate it again to be tested positive for COVID that tested positive for COVID. So the whole point is that all of the follow the science, all of the things that you were told during that time of panic, it turns out it was fear-mongering. It turns out that you should have just done what you always do during cold season. Protect yourself.
You make individual decisions.
Exactly. You go to work. You go out. You take your risks. You take your jab. If you want to get a vaccine for this cold, go for it. You might experience some symptoms. If you do catch this cold, you might experience some adverse symptoms. Maybe if you're at a risk, you might experience more adverse symptoms. Like, again, they never took the time to say that also, you might want to take care of your own general health in the interim, before the shot, before this, before that. Take care of yourself. Get out there, work out. What was the average weight gain per month for an American? I think it was 3 pounds. 3 pounds per month.
Yeah, it was
3 to 5. Like, we became more unhealthy.
Stay inside. Don't move. Don't get any sun. God forbid you go outside for this thing that is literally killed on contact by UV rays. Don't do any of that.
You can't say that because it's not factually backed up by science, Dane.
Anyway. Oh, yeah, I can't say that now because that now contradicts.
You see how it works?
Yeah.
You see how it works? Because we're not following the science. Never mind the fact that when they were pushing the science hadn't even completed itself before they pushed the science. Never mind that, but please.
By talking about all that we just talked about then following the then science would now not be following the science now, even though the science that's now is the science we were saying back then.
It's so complicated. It's science.
Listen, here's the
best way I can surmise it is it's science. It's confusing. Okay.
Here's the thing. Now, when they tell you, as we discussed in the Culture Corner segment, that not only do you don't engage with them on social media, you just post fact-checked sites, and definitely if you see them in public, don't talk to them.
Use the VPN.
Because they're just going to argue really hard with you about why they're right. So don't talk to them.
And you're not going to have any good answers for any of their questions because you don't have any ground to stand on, but definitely don't talk to them.
That's exactly what all of the mainstream articles thought about your humble podcast host here for the last 2.5 years. That's what our most successful of all social media accounts, our original TikTok account, was up to 10,500 followers, and TikTok nuked it with a shadow ban to the point that it wasn't even salvageable after that. For saying what is now CDC guidance. Now, listen, you can be super critical, and this argument passes the laugh test against David and I. Well, guys, things change. It was worse then. It's not so bad now, so the guidance changes. I get it. But you have to acknowledge that that's a convenient out of anything we have to say about the subject.
We did what we thought was right at the time. Like, okay, cool. Yeah. So did Hitler.
But judge them by the fruit they bear.
I'm going to go
right?
mechanism.
Oh,
Am I pronouncing that?
See, now you're getting me off the top of my head.
I'm sorry. Manichaeanism.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yes. So, like, Hitler thought he was doing the best for humanity. So, that's just a cop-out in our eyes, per se.
Yeah. So, listen, all I'm saying is the argument passed the laugh test, but it's a very convenient one to have. So, neutral listener in the middle. Since we can't convince them, maybe we can. Well, our side's already convinced. To those of you in the middle, who do you trust? Them, us, or your own eyeballs? Who was saying what 2.5 years ago? We have a record of it. We have 107 episodes before this where you can go back and listen dates and times and what we had to say and how that lines up with CDC guidance now.
I'd argue we had more evidence.
We're ready to get run out of society, though, for having those views.
I'd argue that we had more evidence precluding this particular situation than we gave ourselves credit for. At least two of the major manufacturers of the vaccine that was being shot into your arm that was going to make you, super sore. Maybe I had somebody in my family that really reacted to the Moderna vaccine. I'm going to say the Moderna vaccine because it was one of the vaccines that can't be held accountable for 75 years.
But we're not saying they did anything wrong.
We're not saying
YouTube. We're saying nothing else.
Never would we say that.
Other than the fact that it is a vaccine manufacturer and the fact that it does have exemptions from liability granted by the United States government. Those are facts. That's all we're saying.
All we're saying. And I'm not even saying that company in particular had paid billions of dollars in reclamation claims for injuring people that had taken their pharmaceutical substances.
In other contexts.
Non-COVID
related contexts.
But they did also say it was totally safe for them to take, but then knew that they would make more profit.
Then they would get fined.
Exactly. So they weighed the cost-benefit analysis and then just fucked up a bunch of people that were Americans and never were held accountable for it, except for the buy-off, but which is a small price to pay. What's the price of a human life, Dane? One life lost is too many?
No, one life lost is a tragedy and 1 million lives lost is a statistic.
All right, Stalin. Anyway, all we're saying is that how many lives were lost to COVID and how much of our freedom was costed by COVID. That's what I'd say.
Costed by COVID. Yeah. We see what the man is saying. So, David, are you ready to get into the main?
I thought we weren't done with that, but please.
Oh, I didn't. I saw.
No.
That's why I asked. Anyway, yeah.
It's just like I want to drive this point home.
Okay.
Like when they tell you to trust something, and you're going to put your whole trust in it, think for yourself. It's a dichotomy that we preach nearly every episode, if not twice an episode.
And listen, shameless self-promotion for the WMD podcast right now. If you want to be able to be, if not smarter than, at least predictive of government behavior months or even up to 2 years out ahead of time, how do you do that? they hate that WMD Podcast has figured out this one trick. What's the trick? Think and do the exact opposite of whatever they tell you to do. They are almost always wrong. And again, we bring up this point all the time, whether they're always wrong as a matter of pure incompetence and stupidity. And they just keep stumbling backwards into the wrong policies. You would think eventually, through blind ass luck, they stumble in the correct policies even for the wrong reasons. But they never do. The policies are always the ones that happen to hurt me and you the most. Like we joked all throughout COVID. It seemed like the driving motivator behind all policy outcomes throughout that time, Tom Woods says this all the time, is that it's driven by the metric of, does it make people happy? If it does, they can't do it. Movies, can't go. Theater, can't go. Being outside with your friends at the beach, can't go. You having fun, son? Can't go. That was what drove all the policies. That's weird, man.
By the way,
maybe that's blind stupidity.
Within the last 50 years, it was the greatest shift in financial structure between classes that's ever been seen. The rich got a hell of a lot richer, and the poor got a hell of a lot poorer. That's all I will say. I'll drop the mic there, and let's go with.
Well, I do just have to tag on to that last point.
Tack it.
Is he's correct about that? And my reply to that is, okay, if the rich really did get a lot richer, the question is, would they have gotten that much richer in a truly free market that wasn't so utterly dominated by government that government could just arbitrarily decree in the alleged land of the free that businesses should be shut down, their owners arrested if they didn't comply with local policy or whatever, whether it be vax passports or masks or whatever, shut them down, destroy American lives and businesses on the government's simple say-so. Does that sound like the free market?
Except for the ones that pay us.
Right. Except for the ones that lobby us. Does that sound like a free market to you? Think about our viewpoint however you want. That maybe we're radical free marketists who think that the free market can do anything the government can do better, right? The old Michael Jordan commercial. And maybe we're crazy for believing that. Or maybe we have an extensive history of seeing how it goes when government has that much control and what happens. If you're really concerned about the rich being richer, ask yourself, regardless of the motivations, which direction does it seem to be going and under which type of model that they're arguing for? Is this happening in a truly free market? I suggest not. Maybe trying that version instead of one of total government control is the way to go.
Just an idea, a thought, a careless thought. Anyway, before we get too more depressed, Dane, what is the main topic of today's episode?
Today we're talking, what's that meme of like the SWAT team dropping in through the roof and kicking in the door and all that kind of stuff?
FBI, open up!
Yeah. We are talking the Inflation Reduction Act, which again, David, what did we learn about the names of bills?
It seems as though whenever they say they're going to do something, they do the opposite. It seems as though when the Patriot Act is told that you're patriotic for supporting this thing, it takes away all your rights and privileges. It seems like we're going to build back better. It doesn't build back better in your community. It builds back better for the people that paid for the bill to be passed. The CARES Act doesn't take care of the people that they said it was going to take care of, but it takes care of the people that paid them to take care of the CARES Act.
It gave them $1,400 checks, and then fast forward about a year and a half to 2 years, that turned into 9% inflation, while the rich got super uber rich, and the people who got their $1,400 checks and wanted more checks, by the way.
Who fares best in the inflation market?
Wound up with that $1,400 eaten away in a couple months of this inflation.
Who fares best in the inflation market? Just one more time. The super poor or the super rich?
Oh, the super rich, for sure.
Weird. That's weird. That's weird that we take favor with them instead of the poor and destitute.
You know who else benefits a lot in terms of society destroying policy?
Dane, I'm hanging on your every word. Please tell me.
Spenders. Those in debt.
Oh.
So what does this encourage? It encourages debt. You know who it punishes? Savers. You know the responsible people in society. Remember where they said save it. Don't keep it under your mattress, but keep it in a bank account.
It's going to gain interest.
Don't get too much in the market, right? That's scary, and you could lose all your money. And maybe don't even try stuff like real estate or any other sort of wealth building model, or starting your own business, or engaging in the entrepreneurial
If you put
spirit.
it in your mattress, you're an asshole. Okay.
It's been telling savers to do that all the time, and then in a high inflationary environment, what happens to savers? They get wiped out. Right? Because their dollars are losing more and more value by the day as they continue to save. And they don't even realize it because they've been told, just put money in the bank and save and you'll be fine.
Gain interest. It'll always grow.
Or put your money in a retirement account that you can't touch until you're 65. And that retirement account gets invested into our hands, our hedge funds, to go into the US stock market and play it like it's a fucking casino, and potentially lose all of your retirement funds. But you should have trusted us because we're the smartest guys in the room.
They're introducing laws that can tax you on gains within your own fucking retirement. So whatever either way you go, whatever avenue, is just a big old governmental size that goes up your...
So what is government action doing? It's telling you to do the thing that is literally in your worst interest, and then going out and performing those policies, like causing inflation in the first place, and then passing the Inflation Reduction Act, which is just going to increase it and put the public fund into more debt to fund larger government. That's the direction that this anti-inflation or this Inflation Reduction Act is going to go.
I've got a solution, Dan.
I would maybe stop, from the Epstein segment, maybe start doing the opposite of what these people tell you.
So stop listening to their words and start following their actions. And what I would say...
Judging them by their conclusions, not their intentions.
Exactly. So as much as we hate on her on this podcast, me in perpetuity, instead of hating Nancy Pelosi for what she does...
God, Nancy again. We can't have one episode.
Instead, she is the foremost mind in investment in this country as we know it today. So there's a website that follows senators' investments. So what I would suggest to you, dear listener, and this might be a multi-million-dollar suggestion to you, just follow wherever she puts her money next. And put the
However, this is not financial advice. We are not financial advisors.
He's my legal representation.
David?
Well, I'm just saying.
You can't even say that stuff in jest. This is not financial advice in any way, shape, or form. Do not act on this. David does not even have an account to invest with.
I have $10.
He is a passive investor.
It was given to me by my grandpa in a bond 10 years ago. He is
theorizing, and this episode is for entertainment purposes only.
Correct. Other than that, just follow whatever the fuck she does with her money, and you might end up on the right end of the spectrum. That's all I'm saying.
You said other than that, and then said the same thing again. But anyway, not other than that.
I agreed with all the things that he said. I'm not a fucking counselor. I'm not a fucking accountant. I don't know what to tell you to do with your money. All I'm saying is it might be a good idea to check out that fucking website. I'm not even going to tell you the website. You got to go figure it out for yourself. But
anyway, now here's the
Pelosi's putting bills in something.
Here's the two narratives around this, and to be fair, we're going to link both of them, both in the description down below on the videos and at WMDpodcast.com/108. Is one side of the argument is saying, hey, and this is obviously the Republicans. They're saying, hey, this bill calls for several billion, I think something like $80 billion to go to the IRS to expand it to have up to 87,000 new IRS agents, and then
more jobs.
And then the major duties on the IRS website for this job is very interesting, and we'll get to that in a second. Now, one side says that's cause for concern. Why does the IRS need 87,000 more armed agents ready to do what we're going to read on this list? The other side says That's not what it's for. They're all making it up. Republicans had been reducing the size of the IRS by defunding it since 2010. We're just restoring it. This isn't these 87,000 are not going to tax anybody that makes under 400,000 a year. Remember that campaign promise? That's a very specific thing.
Hold on to that.
That the Democrat politicians are spouting now from all different areas of the party. Nobody under 400,000. But if that's the case, this bill that passed the Senate before going to the House on the Friday before last, an amendment was proposed in the Senate to the bill saying exactly that this will not tax anybody that makes below 400,000. And you know what Senate Democrats did? They voted that amendment down.
By the way,
they passed the bill without it. As David said, words, actions.
By the way, how are they posing that bill? How are people talking about it the Friday before? They're saying, oh, well, they're going to go after Amazon because they didn't pay any dollars in taxes. They're going to go after this big company because they paid $0 in taxes. What did we just say on a couple of episodes ago that was going to happen? Like, these
episode 106.
Huge fucking corporations have teams of lawyers to find loopholes within the tax registration, and you don't have that luxury. So of course it's going to trickle down to you. They're going to keep paying $0. Why is that? Because they're also lobbying the government. You don't have that affordability.
Listen. You're
an idiot if you believe them.
We are, everybody who is paying taxes they are fundamentally this at core. They are tax cattle. That's the way the people in government and the power elite view you. You are a resource to be milked dry until you retire 2 years before you pass away. That's what you are. Give us money through your Social Security contributions and give us 30% of your paycheck all along the way. And God forbid you happen to climb up and get to a certain tax bracket, or we're really going to come for you now because you're an evil, terrible, rich person. And don't do any of that. You need to stay down at this level. You need to keep money under your mattress. And we definitely won't inflate it away from you. And as long as you're staying down there, we're not going to send the taxman after you. Whoops, this legislation lets us send the taxman after you.
Hey, Dane. What's the gross tax income for the government each and every year?
I want to say in like 20, I guess the last normal year.
Do we not get a receipt?
The last normal year before COVID, it was something like 4 trillion, like 4 trillion, something like that.
Okay.
But over COVID, there was a lot more spending.
Let's operate off of that.
A lot different. I was going back to normal times.
And you're saying you can't run this country with $4 trillion?
No, actually, they ran a deficit every single one of those years. They spent more than they brought in.
You know what that sounds like to me? Sounds like a drug addict. I could just get clean if you just give me the money for this, and like if you pay my rent for another 3 years, and I can make this work, but you just have to give me more money. That's what you have to do, okay? That's what you have to. So you've never elicited one positive result over the past 10 years. My life has not benefited because of you over the past 10 years, and you are saying that the thing that will fix that is if I pay you more money, even though you've got $4 trillion the last time we tallied it up. You can't make this shit work with $4 trillion. Well, if I would have had 6, we'd live in a utopia, obviously. But you guys are too stingy. And there's too many loopholes for government and corporations.
My other favorite meme on this topic, the people that are supporting that regime, I think that regime is all about righteous goodness and doing everything that's right in the world. That same group of people were mad at Elon about proposing to buy Twitter for 44 billion. Jesus, that's only 11 years of government revenue, not even their spending. But for 44 billion, Elon Musk could solve world hunger. Not just the United States government, which brought in $4 trillion in revenue from its taxpayers. But think of every other government all around the world. Think of collectively how many trillions of dollars are out there.
Do you not see it there?
Sucked out of the global economy.
Do you not see it there?
That is not solving world hunger.
Do you not see it there?
Proportionality, people.
They put it on an individual to solve world hunger when they are a global fucking economy.
Or when they have the power to coercively take any amount they want, and he has to earn it from voluntary consumers and government subsidies. He's not a hero, but what I'm saying is that he has to earn at least some of his dollars voluntarily. These other institutions can just steal it from you. They can snap their fingers and your bank account's gone.
You don't have to be homeless. They can fix the homeless crisis right now, like that. But they don't care to. They don't want to fix your problems.
They campaign on doing it, but they never will.
But if they ever fix your problems, what are they going to be elected for?
They're going to be out of a job. That's exactly right.
Oh, shit. So now you realize that they're not really interested in solving your problems. They're more interested in proliferating your problems so that you'll invest in them again to say, well, I'll give you a pittance here, but the real issue is here. So I gave you $1,400 to get you through COVID, even though $1,400 in most places.
2 grocery visits today.
Maybe. It doesn't even pay your rent for a month. What the fuck are you talking about? But meanwhile, you've increased the fucking inflation rate to 8.5% to make sure that you guys got paid. All of your constituents got paid, and the American people got left out to dry. But they got a $1,400 check. God bless you.
Now, let's be fair to Manchin and Schumer and everybody who supported this bill, okay? They will tell you we allocated $80 billion to the IRS to beef up the IRS. And the reason why it's important to spend that $80 billion is because there are super rich individuals and corporations that are tax cheats, and we don't have the resources to go after them. So we need all these extra agents and these money and these resources to go after these billionaire tax cheats. So I thought, let me look something up. How many billionaires are there in the United States? Now, according to New York Times, Forbes and Bloomberg have a similar estimate, but there's a research company called WealthX, which estimated that in 2021, there were 927 billionaires in the United States. 927. Forbes estimated about 203 less. So 700 and some change.
Give it.
Billion. Now, 87,000 people added to the IRS. Now, according to Manchin and Schumer and their supporters, of that 87,000, a net of like only 23,000. So the IRS isn't growing by 87,000. They're only growing by 23,000. So let's go with that number. 20,000 more than they have, 23,000 more than they have. You think those 23,000 extra agents are going to be assigned to 927 people? Or you think they're going to be assigned to a few more?
Well, here's my thing too. Is that it's also coming from the side that just yesterday was telling us that we don't need weapons, that you don't need to be armed. Joe Biden said, you could blow out a lung with a 9mm pistol. Like, okay, cool. What did they also do in that bill, Dane? Please, tell me.
Oh, well, allocated at least some resources to the... I'm not going to say heavily, because that implies maybe more than I want to state, but implies arming these IRS agents. Maybe not all 87,000 or 23,000 surplus. That's not specifically defined. They want you to know, the supporters want you to know that of this 87,000 number, some are going to be like IT people and clerks. They're not all IRS agents going and knocking on doors, you crazy, government hating libertarian. But the point is, they're adding that many more people. Presumably, some of them will be carrying weapons. And the IRS wants you to know that over the last few years and up to now, they've been purchasing weapons for their staff and stockpiling ammo.
Dude, my butthole puckers when I get a letter from the IRS. Imagine what my butthole does when they show up with an AK at my door being like, we want that fucking money. Like, Okay, cool. But again, it's the juxtaposition. The same side that says that what do you ever need a weapon for also is arming all the people that are aligning against you. That might have someday malcontent for you. What are you supposed to say to that? Under the guise of, we're fighting for freedom, we're fighting for equality, we're fighting for this, we're fighting for that. Well, what are their actions saying again as we reiterate through this episode, Dane?
Well, going back to Epstein in this episode, the takeaway from the whole outpacing the government on the issue of COVID for 2.5 years is, how do you get most things right when it comes to government policy and outcomes? You just do the opposite and think the opposite of what they say. In a very similar vein, how do you predict, just as during COVID, when in early 2020, we were concerned that vaccine passports might become a thing, and that's potentially rights violating, and that's uncomfortable in a lot of different ways, but you weren't supposed to have that opinion. Much like we say now, we don't really think that of the net 23,000, again, picking the low number, added IRS employees, regardless of what percentage is going to be the ones knocking on doors, presumably, I don't think they're all going to be allocated to, what did I say? 900 and, we'll go with Forbes' lower number, 700 and some change people. Total. 700 people are going to have 23,000 extra employees.
And those billionaires can't afford lawyers. They're going to find ways around that fucking tax code.
Now,
if you want to believe that, again, I've got some wonderful real estate for you down here in the Everglades. I'm only going to sell to you.
Yeah. Now, on David's butthole puckering. So, if you go to the IRS website, and we'll have a picture of this up here. I think our video guy will know right where to put it, kind of major IRS duties. On the website, they want their hires that are, a lot of them are going to be IT people, and they're not on the front lines. Major duties for these new hires, according to the IRS website, says, quote, bullet 1, adhere to the highest standards of conduct, especially in maintaining honesty and integrity. Because when I think of the IRS or any government agency, I think of honesty and integrity. Bullet 2, work a minimum of 50 hours per week, which may include irregular hours, and be on call 24/7, including holidays and weekends. So we're definitely not overworking you and wearing you thin. And if you happen to get in a confrontation and your cognitive skills are a little bit lower because you're worn out,
we'll totally back you up. Just like they did with
you're going to get qualified immunity. Right. Bullet 3.
They definitely didn't come out. The same side that's definitely increasing your pay rate and increasing all of these things did not want us to defund the police at all.
Oh, and when we run an internal investigation on your actions, we're going to find no wrongful conduct by the officer, and can't sue him. He's a nice guy. Anyway, bullet 3, quote, maintain a level of fitness necessary to effectively respond to life-threatening situations on the job. Boy, that escalated quickly. Be a nice guy. Honesty, integrity, that's what it's all about.
Be able to fuck somebody up.
But look for life-threatening situations. Bullet 4. I know you gun grabbers who think that, rifles are only for hunting and, how dare you have these other no-no guns. Bullet 4 says, again, to an IRS agent, major duties on their website, quote, carry a firearm and be willing to use deadly force if necessary.
For tax collection? For money? Okay, cool.
In the span
it sounds a little kind of like mafia-ish, if you will.
In a span of 4 bullet points, we went to honesty and integrity and use deadly force.
And kill that motherfucker if he doesn't give us our dollar.
I guess if your deadly force is honest and full of integrity, then so I guess those aren't contradicting bullet points.
Why stop there?
All right, and final point of the major duties for IRS hires. Last bullet point, quote, be willing and able to participate in arrests, execution of search warrants, and other dangerous assignments. So, very low energy, very low patience. Go on very dangerous missions to confront people that may or may not want you to be on their private property. Make sure you carry a firearm because if something does go wrong, we want you to pop off first and ask questions later. And don't worry about getting in trouble because qualified immunity, you're a special agent of the state. You never did anything wrong. But do all of this super honestly and with the utmost integrity.
It seems like they're trying to spread that police discrimination all over the bun. It feels like they're trying to go all over the place. So they didn't want it less. They wanted you to go out for the BLM protests and do whatever you want. Run amok. It's all peaceful. But now you see that their ploy was not to prop up your position, but to use it to make it possible to hold you under the thumb more appropriately. So now we're not going to give the police the power. Now we're going to give the IRS the power, which is another government.
Yeah. Do you remember personally vote? Do you remember seeing on a ballot IRS director?
No.
What about any other lower level employees under director? Any like
I don't even think that there's
section head managers,
IRS
head of auditors,
secretary in a city.
You recall any of that being on a ballot?
No, I don't see that.
All your years of it.
But
I'm told this is a government of representative democracy of by and for the people. That's what I'm told.
And under whose conspiratory are we introducing this new legislature? The person that said that they weren't going to tax you anymore? The person that said that they're only going to tax the rich? Oh, they're arming the people that are also... Do you know
the person that said we had 0% inflation when it was 8.5%?
The person that said that he was never going to fuck with the black people, or if you don't fuck with me, or if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Then you ain't African American.
Yeah, that guy.
The guy that voted against all the African American... I don't want to go into his voting history, but it seems like whatever he says, he does the opposite of. So whenever he's in line with this shit, we have to call him out because God knows none of the media is going to. It's like, oh, he's all friendly Joe Biden. He just fell off his bike because sometimes your clips get caught in the pedal, whatever. He's definitely not senilic. No. He can't even read a teleprompter. But no, he's totally fine. Yeah, he just stutters a lot. Like, okay, he stutters a lot, but it's going to mean that the tax collectors, for the first time in your life, will not just send you a letter, will not just send you a notice of representation within your local jurisdiction for not paying your taxes, but will show up on your doorstep with a gun. A gun that he said that you don't even have the right to own, by the way, that he wants to repeal your right to own. By the way, so whose side is he actually on? And I'd argue, hopefully for his sake, he doesn't know, but all of his actions dictate to the opposite.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does take personal. I mean, of course he takes personal responsibility because he thinks he's doing the right thing. But what I'm saying is like, yes, he individually does it. But that is also not to, and I know you're not doing this, to kind of scapegoat him for the rest of the people that seem to, at least in public, hold the same political positions as him, are interested in doing that too. And they happen to be aligned on, again, I know the political side, the whole political spectrum, and I'm not buying into it, but I'm just saying who we're told is supposed to be the opposite side. They're saying exactly what they're supposed to say to keep the fictional combat going while they both continue to, as we say, the bipartisanship is just when the stupid party and evil party agree on how to most efficiently screw the American public. They pretend to be enemies, like David made the wrestling analogy, but they always seem to come together to policies that screw us over. And whether that's taxing you when they said they didn't, here's the thing, or telling you that, no, this definitely isn't going to turn into vax passports. Why were David and I and people like us talking about it going in that direction long before it went in that direction and being called crazy conspiracy theorists who the UN says you are not supposed to talk to? How did we get that right 2.5 years before the CDC now changes its guidance when it wanted you run out of society without getting that jab? Much like if you suggest that these 87,000 IRS agents might just go after a few more people than a handful of billionaires. It's not going to go in that direction. You guys are crazy conspiracy theorists, and the UN doesn't want anybody to talk to you. With one easy trick, we are pissing off governments left, right, and center. We are thinking and doing the exact opposite of what they tell us.
And guess what? We're sitting here talking like this, and we're going to be the first ones clipped. It's going to be so easy to get rid of us.
Yeah.
We ain't Joe Rogan. To find us. We ain't Joe Rogan. We ain't fucking, what's his name? Shapiro. We ain't the Daily Wire. We're going to get clipped first.
If they find us before we are that size, I guess we just play whack-a-mole with them and hop up somewhere else with a different account like we had to do on TikTok. But
if we don't wake up in a gulag. But that's not fun to think about now, Dane. Now is it?
David and I want you to both know we are not suicidal, and preemptively we have
would
not
never
Epstein
commit
ourselves.
suicide, and especially would not wrap a fucking extension cord around a tree in a place that was 40 miles away from our home and then shoot ourselves in the chest with a shotgun.
Check my knuckles because I'm going down swinging. If those babies are pristine, which now I'm telling them how to scuff my how to stage it.
Callus over here. So if it's on my left middle knuckle, it's fine. But
if I
anything else,
if I didn't put up that kind of fight, it didn't happen.
So Dane,
anyway,
where would they find this episode?
We hope we're here and not broadcasting you live from the sunny beaches of Cuba.
Beyond the grave.
In episode 109. But where you can find this one is WMDpodcast.com/108. You can find it on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction. This episode will be at the top, 108. And then also check us out over on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey for all your video needs, and the description of where you can support the show. Bitcoin, Cash, check out all your options there. And then like, subscribe, share, comment, rate, do all that stuff on our other socials, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. David, I'll see you for 109, I hope.
I certainly hope so. If we're not in the same gulag. If not, we'll chew through each other's ropes together, right? I'll bite through your ropes too.
Did you hear that?
No, everything's fine.
Is that the FBI?
Everything's fine.
David?
I think we're fine. Anyway.
Hurry, hide the podcast stuff. We lost it in a terrible boating accident.
Stay safe, unlike us. And more importantly, guys, stay free.